Greetings, programs, and welcome to, I think, the second to last game on my to-do list. This time it's another one with Empire in the title, but it's a little bit different from any of the others I've covered because this is a city builder, but it's kind of a limited scale city builder, and you'll see what I mean when I actually get the game going. Now, this is one that, again, like some of the others, has been on my to cover list for a little while. I got this a code for this when it was early access, and actually decided at that point to wait till it was a full release. And well, we've gone past that point a little ways by this stage, but nonetheless, it is now available as a full release on Steam, and I can't even remember what the price is. But I'll do what I've done with the others and stick a link to the store page in the description. So let's click play, and I'll just start a new one. And you can get an idea what the premise for this game is. It's a bit flimsy. It's a bit odd in a way, this game. I mean, you kind of have to suspend your disbelief and just accept it for what it is, because it really doesn't make a lot of sense. Just been this, you know, nuclear Armageddon, but somehow the survivors had time to make these giant concrete pillars, and you've got to resettle them. Now, there's 3 different modes, as you can see: sandbox, default, and tower defense, where you're just under waves of attack. We're going to go with default, though, which is kind of like the standard mode, and that gives us well, we kind of have started and kind of haven't, because you can actually if you're not happy with what the game's given you, you can generate new terrain. Now, I'll actually go with this because we've got a nice big body of water there, and well, as you can see, we've got, well, it's kind of like 2 pillars, but it's actually 3 separate areas. So that's another one of the things about this game, is you're not actually building just one city, you're building 3 towns, really, I suppose. Cities, small cities that are kind of adjacent to each other, because the idea is it's difficult in the area. You've got to build everything that you need in just that one area, so eventually you have to expand to the other areas and start shipping stuff back and forth. So yeah, it's almost like there's a kind of puzzle game element to it on top of it being a city builder, because as a city builder, you know, if you try and stop and consider it as some kind of actual real-life scenario, yeah, it stops making sense very quickly. But as a more kind of abstract puzzle type thing, it's maybe slightly more acceptable. So this is the one we're going to go for, and well, we're just going to follow the steps of the tutorial, basically. So if I remember correctly, yeah, it's just left-click to bring up. Now, where's the first thing that we need? I've actually forgotten where it is, but fortunately, if you click on the tutorial flashing button, it'll tell you exactly where it is. So it's the industry slot, which is, I was on the right one, and it's our initial storage. And basically, you know, the plot, such as it is that there are survivors up in a space station. So the first time you put anything down, it's plonked down from space. Now, I've chosen this area because being next to water gives you some distinct advantages somehow. And yeah, again, this is another thing that makes absolutely no sense, is that there are fish in here, and even though there's water pouring out of it, it never actually runs out. And there's also some other things that don't make sense that we'll get to. So every time you complete a step of the tutorial, it gives you a little monetary reward. So it now wants us to build a landing platform, which is going to be here. And there's 2 types. You can have one that pokes off the edge, or you can have one that actually sits on the surface, you know, the plateau. There we go, that's the word I wanted. But yeah, we're just going to go for the edge one because it takes up a little bit less space. Not a lot less, but a little bit less. You don't have to put things down exactly conforming to these squares, but it looks a little bit neater if you do. So they're going to build that. We'll actually speed things up a bit. And there we go. And then we have to build some housing. Now, we do have various types of housing to start with, but we'll go with something fairly basic. We'll actually go with a medium residence, which takes a little bit more power, but as you can see, holds all the tenants and then some. And usually residential buildings have some form of upgrade. In fact, most buildings have some form of upgrade. But we probably won't be doing that right away because resources are rather limited at the moment. So population, as you will soon see, is very abstract in this game. It's basically just numbers. You do see little sprites of people wandering around. In fact, when we see the shuttle rocket come down, you'll see a bunch of people come off. When I first played this game, they were kind of basically 2D cutouts as sprites, but these days they are fully rendered 3D models. So the game's had a bit of spit and polish since then, and it's also had a bunch of stuff added compared to the first time I played this. So take the reward and generate a power surplus, and it basically wants us to make sure that we have enough power, and at the moment we have exactly as much power, which you get a little bit from I think this building here. Does this generate? No, I think you just get a base amount of power. So yeah, and as there is a day-night cycle, the amount of power you get depending on your power generation will vary. Now, wind obviously is constant, but not everywhere is suitable for wind. So if we look at this panel up here, which will change depending on which plateau we're looking at. Over here, for instance, we'll want to use solar panels, but over here, yeah, it looks like wind power has the slight edge, so we'll go for wind. I'll actually build a wind turbine, a large installation. And power is one of the things you can transfer between different city areas, and it's done via the medium of batteries, these things here, because if you are, for instance, running on solar, well, it's not producing overnight, so at that point your buildings will consume batteries from storage, and what we have to do in order to produce those batteries is build a battery station, which is this building here, and that basically turns any excess power into batteries. This is why I'm doing the tutorial, by the way. It just goes through everything in very logical steps. So at the moment we're producing way more power than we need, and so that will mean that the process of charging up batteries will go relatively quickly, and that's also providing some employment, which does actually matter because your employment affects your city prestige, as they've called it, basically the little happy face down here, which can turn into a sad face. You do have to keep an eye on all these indicators, but it's not so important right now, just based on the fact that you know, we're starting out. So we can even speed this up a bit more until the batteries are, I think times 6 is the quickest it'll go. We could build another one of these, but yeah, it'd be a bit of a waste of resources at this point. Although soon we'll be building more production buildings to actually gain resources. So that won't be an issue for too long. But yeah, as you can see, it does take a while, so you're definitely going to need more than one battery station in the long run. But as we're running on wind power, and as we're still, you know, we have plenty of space for more turbines, it's not really going to be an issue to just plonk turbines down rather than rely on batteries, at least for now.
Objective completed.
So there we go. Build a water extraction station. You'll notice I don't have to build any, like there's no road infrastructure or anything like that. Your citizens do need to move around, but it's all very abstracted. They will just use the drones to start with, and then after that they'll you can build like personal transport for them. You can build transit systems of a sort. But yeah, as I say, it's all very abstract. It's not like city skylines or something like that. And we can just put down a water extraction station anywhere, so even if you're on a plateau that doesn't have water, you can still get water, but which is somehow sucking water out of the concrete. Yeah, don't ask. Or we can actually build next to this pool of water an extraction station, which will, I think, consume more. No, it's the same amount of power consumed, but it isn't affected by it isn't affected by the groundwater rate, and actually provides more employment. So that's being built, so you can see that process there. There is an interesting feature of this game in that you can build stuff even if you don't necessarily have the resources to do it. And what will happen is the building site will appear, and let's say for instance you have the materials but you don't have the cash. Your drones will all transport the materials, but the building itself won't be finished until the cash becomes available. So you know, you can kind of sometimes placeholder put things down. In fact, you can even do that and pause the construction if you want to try and map things out a bit. So that's water now being pumped into our storage. So now we need to sort out food, and you've got two different types. Crop fields, which are open to the elements, and indoor fields, which actually require some power to run. They aren't affected by... we don't actually know what the soil fertility is like here. So yeah, they aren't affected by the fertility of the plateau, but they don't give you any ecology bonus. Not that that matters at the moment, but we're actually just going to go with the open crop field, which I think is also even a bit cheaper in terms of resources. So we'll do that to start with. No idea what the crops are supposed to be. Presumably some engineered sort of something. Heck, if you zoom all the way in on the storage, the textures are a little, you know, it's not the flashiest game visually. For some reason they have really giant apples if you look at the scale of that texture compared to everything else, but yeah, it doesn't seem to be apples that they're actually growing here. It's definitely some kind of grain. So that's that done. Now we come on to building material, which is just under the all-encompassing title of matter. And I'm going to try and keep this kind of half industrial and then kind of commercial and residential over here. So let's build the matter mine here. Now, to me, it seems a bit daft that having somehow magically built these giant pillars, you would then excavate said pillars that are your home, that are the only thing keeping you up out of the radioactive mist for material. But that's exactly what you seem to be doing. Even more ridiculously, somehow these giant artificial pillars also contain, where is it? Uranium. There is a way to extract uranium. There's a building that extracts uranium, and maybe it's there. Yeah, uranium mine. Because you can build nuclear power plants as a thing. I don't know. It stops making any kind of particular sense if you think about it in any way, shape or form. So this building has various upgrades that we can have, as does this, but we're not really going to look at that just now. Settle citizens. So now it wants more citizens. So what we can do is think about upgrading this building in various ways. Now we can actually have it generate power through having some solar upgrades. We can just increase the number of places, which would take it to exactly 40, so I think we'll probably take that one. But you can also make it prettier, which increases the aesthetic appeal, because, you know, people have to want to live wherever. I keep, if that comes up accidentally, by the way, it's because you do that by left clicking, which is, you know, not usually the thing that brings up menus when you just left click anywhere on the screen, but it does in this game. So there's the little citizen sprite just wandering around in circles apparently. And we might actually need more spaces than that, because although we have the 40 spaces, citizens only come down, I think, in batches of 15. So we'll need... we could build a residential complex, or we could build a pair of houses, perhaps. We might do that just to... Oh, that's me having... Oh, turned on one of the features. Yeah, if it's at night time, you can actually press the shift key and it'll have a lit up area.
Small construction completed.
Build a pair of houses, and these can be upgraded to maybe either produce power or aesthetics. As you can see, at the moment, our workspaces versus
small construction completed.
Citizens is, you know, yeah, it was about equal, but it's now a bit unequal, and having unemployed people, it's not good overall. So you want to try and keep your jobs up to par with your actual number of citizens. Now we're going to build the centerpiece of our city. The where is it? Where is the town square? It's not there. Oh, we'll just click on the thing and it'll tell us. Business. It's in the business section. And there we go. So this is just kind of like, it's got a couple of workspaces, but it's kind of like your city centre, essentially. And you'll see lots of people gathering there on a regular basis. Now, as we are currently sucking up as much energy as we're producing just about, I think we'll actually upgrade... that's just cash. We'll upgrade one of them for the time being. We'll put some solar panels on that. So it's not going to produce anything overnight, obviously, but it will do during the day. So now we need a maintenance centre, which is kind of your all-in-one, like, fire station / everything else. It helps keep everything running along. So if I can find where that is... I don't know where anything is really. Oh, there we go, maintenance centre. Now you can build a land-based one which will consume water, or you can actually build a floating one, which is a bit more expensive. Oh, but oh, I have done that wrong. Never mind. We can actually cancel that. Which will actually reduce the amount of fish available slightly, but it means you don't need to ever put water into it. Not that that's really an issue for us, but actually, you know what? Let's build the land-based one. I think that might be... water's definitely not going to be an issue on this plateau. We squeeze it on this edge here. There we go. Now, at the moment, we're getting as much sunshine as we are wind, but the wind does vary a bit. So this is definitely a mixed energy plateau. You can actually see here, it gives you quite a nice representation of your power breakdown, how much is being generated by each source. So that'll be a few more workplaces when it's done. And, oh yeah, we have a bit of crime at the moment, so a bit of cash is being stolen every so often. Which is, you know, not ideal, but I think the maintenance centre helps deal with that. I think it's basically the equivalent of your police station on top of everything else. Or maybe it isn't. Maybe there is a separate kind of law and order thing that I've missed. No, that's not what I wanted. I can't see one. There's definitely some new stuff in here since I last properly played this. I mean, I have had a good couple of hours into it when it first came out, and played as far as you could go at that point, and then played a little bit just to refresh myself with how the game worked. But there's definitely things I'm unfamiliar with. Right, we are actually at a... we were at a slight energy deficit there. Oh no, does this technically count as being... Ah, this technically... I would have thought that would... No, that's technically over onto the other plateau. Okay, demolish that building. I didn't even notice that. I was wondering why this was suddenly flicking. I would have thought that this, you know, all linked bit here would be part of this plateau, and then this, but apparently not. So we've got to pay attention to that. So I learned a thing and wasted maybe some money. I think you get resources back. But, yeah. Maintenance, there we go. So that shield there. So let's be a bit more careful about where we place this down then. So there is like too far, so about here. Seems to be around the halfway point. Okay, that was some time wasted, never mind. Let's try that again. I suspect you will be playing a lot of this game sped up rather than at normal speed, but once military stuff starts happening, you'll almost certainly want to be going down to normal speed. But we haven't really gotten anywhere close to that point yet. Well, that's not quite done yet. Let's go back to ×3. So there we go. That's built. So now we need a 3D printing facility, which is your kind of all-in-one factory. That's going to be industry, and there it is. And these are interesting in that they actually kind of naturally specialize over time, or they can do if you have them producing just one kind of thing. So once this is built, we'll see how this works exactly. But there's essentially 3 separate production lines. Or is it 2? I can't remember. We'll see in a second.
Large construction completed.
And it wants us to produce engines and furniture. So engines are needed for various things, including new drones, and furniture is basically something that your residents require. So this, yeah, it was only 2 production points per thing, but presumably, can we upgrade it? I don't know if you can upgrade it actually. So that just uses matter to produce whatever, and as you can see here, it explains that if you just produce one kind, it'll specialize in that particular item, with presumably some efficiency bonuses. Now, energy is tailing off a bit, so let's go. Okay, I'm not sure why it had that flag down as an event for me, but yeah. We'll build another wind turbine field on the edge there. As you can see, our matter's starting to run down a bit, but we do have the matter mine now running. In fact, we could even upgrade that. We could get an eco-friendly version. We could actually get...
Objective completed.
Let's get the less eco-friendly version that produces more. Upgrades are basically instantaneous, so you don't have to wait for that process. Right, build a trading portal. So this is the part where you're starting to get a bit more established and you actually want to start trading with the space station in orbit. And we magically just have the technology available to do so. So let's build it. It's a bit of an awkward size, this one. Let's build it there. It's basically a Stargate. Or a little wormhole, or, you know, well, the Stargate system was based on wormholes, so I don't know why I'm saying that exactly. But this lets us set up automated trades, essentially, and sell stuff to orbit. And we can also buy stuff from orbit, but that's quite an expensive proposition because supplies are supposed to be quite limited. So at the moment, we can sell... Now, this has changed compared to... Do you have to set a price, or is it you're selling if you've got more than a certain amount in stockpile? Presumably it's selling if it's more than a certain amount in stockpile. So I can set it if we're selling more than 25. Let's say 50 for water. We can see the current amount there, so let's say 30 for growing. We don't have a huge population at the moment. Everything else is just... storage. Energy, we can say over 40. One neat little feature, by the way, of all buildings is that if you don't like how they're faced, you can actually just, you know, free of charge, just flip them around. So that's us trading. I'll take stuff back through and generate some cash for us. This is at the start one of your primary means of income, but you also do get taxes from your citizens as well. And then once you start setting up over on other plateaus, you can generate cash that way as well. Although, because you're generating cash between like a closed system, you have to be careful you're not draining all the money out of one into another. So trading between the plateaus is a bit more tricky. Build a pharmaceutical unit. Now this is one of the newer things. Oh, that's not what I meant to click on. Now that's going to be... Where would we find that? Is that going to be here perhaps? Now the salad farm is... oh, there we go. There is a separate orchard. So the salad farm is a separate thing. So let's build that. That's kind of a farming item. I might as well squeeze that in there on that edge. The pharmaceutical unit, however, where do I find that? That's in... Oh, this is basically a hospital that you're building. It's like a... Well, a pharmacy, so it's kind of very basic healthcare. It's like the clinic in Tropico 3. We could also maybe at this point... Let's get that upgraded to be...
construction completed.
Generating some
Small
power for us
construction
as
completed.
well.
Objective
Now the airport is where drones come from.
trading platform arrived.
This is interesting, so you can see some statistics. No kind of upgrades or anything, but yeah. So the airport is here, and it's actually not that big of a building. We'll build it on the other side of the trade platform. We've got that little gap there for, I don't know, more windmills or something we could squeeze in there. Salad farm is exactly what you think it is, just growing some leafy greens, and we can actually set those for sale if we are, say, over 20 now that we're producing those. People do want a varied diet. That obviously is something that will keep them happy. Our ecology rating is down a little bit at the moment, but we'll be able to build stuff that helps that. We can also you know, like with these buildings, you can improve aesthetics. You can build buildings that improve your ecology as well. And you can actually see that we're generating a little... It does generate a little bit of income. I've forgotten that. So that generates a bit of income, and it gets difficult when you're trying to click to bring up the menu and then there's more and more buildings around, because you end up clicking on them by mistake. It's maybe not quite the best control scheme in the world, but never mind. Yeah, the other commercial buildings basically do the same thing, as they produce a fixed income and typically quite a large amount of employment. So that's building at the moment. It will produce cargo drones. You can also, I think, yeah, we've got more workspaces than population. So let's build. There's all these different kinds of houses we can build, but let's build a residential complex, which is the biggest kind of housing compound you can have. I think we're keeping ahead in terms of wheat and everything at the moment, but I don't know if there's a good way to see consumption versus production. I don't know if the game gives you that, unless that's indicated down here.
Construction completed.
Maybe 4 is our consumption and 37 is our production. Not entirely sure. I think that must be it. Yeah, so maintenance, we've got 8 over 0. So we've got no special maintenance needs at the moment. That will go up. Power's 100%. So they're just simple percentages. So yeah, that must be it. It's 48 over 4. So that one field has
Trading platform arrived.
given us a fair bit of production. I keep doing that even when I tell myself not to do that, not to left click when I don't mean to left click to bring up the thing. It happens anyway. So 2 cargo drones and go click there. That takes batteries, matter and engines, which we're of course producing from the 3D printing facility. And we've got 76 workplaces, so once that's built we'll have a bunch more people. I think efficiency basically drops. I don't know if there's any way of manually assigning workers or setting priority for buildings, but yeah, efficiency drops if you don't have buildings fully staffed. So you do want to always have, you basically, you know, you have to keep it in balance pretty much as exactly as possible, because too many unemployed people has a negative effect, and too many empty workspaces impacts on your productivity. And people also just being cheeky and pinching from us every so often, apparently. So how are we doing for power? So at the moment, yeah, we've got a bit of a deficit overnight that's being made up by batteries, so we might even want another battery production facility. That's only producing during the day, but we could
Large construction completed.
I mean, the sunshine is fairly constant during the day. We could
Trading platform arrived.
we'll just stick with wind turbines so we can stick some single ones in there. And there's also some special turbines which I think are a little more expensive, but they slot into the corner gaps there, which is quite useful. So we're just going to actually slot another one in there as well. And I think,
New citizens arrived.
yeah, we are overall making a bit of cash. So how are we doing? 75 versus 76. We've got shuttles coming in because we've got a bunch of empty workplaces. Energy requirements are shooting up, so yeah, the sooner these windmills get built, the better. And in fact, we might even want another big wind turbine field. Let's stick one down here on this edge. It doesn't have to be on the edge. I just like grouping
Small
things together.
completed. Small construction completed.
Overnight, you'll notice, by the way, your energy requirements do drop because a lot of things are, they either run at very low efficiency overnight because, you know, there's actually, you know, nobody there and there's no night shifts or anything like that. So you can end up sometimes generating more energy overnight than during the day, depending on your power source, obviously. That won't be true if you're using a lot of solar panels. So I've got first cargo drone built, we're just building the second one. You also got these kind of tourism zeppelins as a thing you can build. But more cargo drones means you'll move stuff around more efficiently, so, you know, it's useful to have some of those as your first priority. Hence the game getting you to build more of them. Now, we'll build another battery station, definitely, because that is a thing that we're going to need more efficient production of, more batteries. Yeah, during the day, our energy requirements shooting way up.
Completed.
And I guess because the windiness never drops below the sunshine production level, so we'll just keep on with the wind turbines. Disable airport, enable airport. Okay, that's a really simple one. Yeah, if you want to reduce power requirements, you can do that. If there's a building that's superfluous, if you're having a bit of an energy crisis, that's a thing you can do. So, improve the aesthetics. So this basically means building some nice parks and things. And you've also got various streets you can build as well that don't have any particular purpose to them other than looking nice. Now, what we can do is maybe... Should build this here as like a buffer between the residential section and the more industrial area. And that will... Oh. I'm trying to... How did I do that?
Huge construction.
You can... Like, there's even a... I can't remember how you activate it now, but there's like a mode that lets you get down to ground level and wander around and look at things from ground level. I can't even remember how you do that now, but there was some hotkey for it that confused the heck out of me at first because I couldn't think how to undo it. Right, that wasn't quite enough, so let's build... I remember that being quite an awkward... Amongst the colonnade. We could build like a little street between the town hall and the park that we've built, and some of these that doesn't, but some of these have like an alternative. I don't think any of these do, but the small ones you have different kind of looks that you can cycle through essentially.
Tiny construction completed.
Right, so now we need to build a town hall. We've got up to the citizen requirement already. I think the town hall is... Gosh, where's the town hall? Game, where is the town hall? Oh, it is there. There it is. This is one of the civic buildings you can have. This one is kind of... It's a bit like Banished. You only get certain statistics available to you once you've built a town hall, and in fact the some of the Anno games do exactly the same thing. You need to build certain structures before you get access to certain stats. So we can see overall, you know, income's going down a bit as we're building stuff, and it can also do various things there as well that we don't really know how to do yet. So it now wants me to expand, and I guess the simplest way to do it is to expand over here. Now there's various transport means. We can build a bridge, but we can also build, I believe, where are we? Now the ports for trade. Subway, I don't know if the subway... counts as a actual... It's basically a fixed thing, and the bridge is exactly the same. You have the start and the end. But, yeah, I don't know what's more expensive, that or the bridge. I think bridges allow trade. I think the subway just allows people to commute. Whereas the bridges do that and allow trade. So I guess we're better off going with the bridge to start with. I'm not entirely sure what purpose the subway serves then, but anyway. Right, I guess let's stick that there. So build a bridge connection, and then we'll start over here with gosh, where's the storage? There we go. Now, this is gonna be kind of off kilter because of how the bridge is lined up, unfortunately, but never mind. I'll have to work around that somehow.
Large construction completed.
Now, I think I might wrap this video up soon. There are other things that haven't really been shown off. There's various disaster events that can occur, but presumably won't whilst we're in the tutorial phase. There are also marauders that can attack, and all sorts of other buildings that we haven't shown off yet, including research, because there is actually like a research tree in this game. Well, not really even a research tree, but there's a research building that lets you upgrade various things. So once that
Medium
bridge
construction completed.
is built, that will, there we go. So we'll need, we don't even need a landing platform, or do we? Do we want a landing platform? Maybe we do. Because people can come over from here, but it's only going to be surplus population, as it were. At the moment, that's pretty well balanced. I think we'll just build a landing platform and yeah, see how we go. Oh, yeah, I think we do want the platform because that's more expensive, but doesn't have that minus ecology problem. Let's squeeze that on. Let's stick it out this side. There we go. Just build. We'll start with, say, another. Well, let's just go straight to a residential complex. We do have enough. We'll also want some form of power. Now this was going to be sunshine, so basically we're going to rely a lot more on batteries during the night for this particular area. So I also want a battery station. That's a fairly vital thing. There is some wind power, but it's not really nearly efficient enough to be justified. So once the bridge is completed, which at the moment we're just waiting on matter production for that, we'll be able to trade stuff back and forth, but it costs money just the same as trading for orbit does, because each of these 3 different settlement areas has their own budget essentially, so keeping your budgets balanced between 3 different areas can actually be a fairly significant challenge from what I remember.
Medium construction
So there we
completed.
go, that's a bunch of workspaces, or residence spaces, rather. And we can also do things like build
New citizens
field.
arrived.
We'll need water and all the rest of it. Man, that leaves such an awkward gap. I think we're just going to end up having an awkward gap around that bridgehead. So we also want
New citizens arrived. Large
where are we?
construction
Water filter.
completed.
Make sure it's facing the correct way. And I might need to trade
Objective
some matter
completed.
through. Was it buy if less than 5?
Trading platform arrived.
Sell if more than 20.
New citizens arrived.
So that's costing 11 to buy and sell, so you know that's kind of taking an equal amount. So what you can do basically is if you set up, the way you balance it is you set up, you know, one plateau producing one thing, one plateau producing another, and try and get them to exchange at an equal rate. Or else you can just like build up a plateau with lots of commercial buildings, so it's just producing a lot of cash and buying in whatever it needs. So bridge connection, build a university, we'll build that over at our original place. We'll also get a matter mine built over here, because that's a fairly basic thing that's needed. But in terms of energy, in terms of population, food and everything, that's absolutely fine. We can actually sell this place to sell if more than, let's say, 30 food. And we can set this to oh no, have I set that for water?
Medium construction completed.
I don't know. I don't know why that's blanked out for, unless it's because we're selling it through the portal. Okay, that slightly confused me.
Platform arrived.
I'm not entirely sure if we are actually buying matter or not. We're trading something. Who knows? Right, anyway, build a university. I might do this as the last thing because it's okay, it's in the civic section. It's, you know, introducing research as a thing. Although I might also build a commercial building as well, just to show what that's like. Let's squeeze the university in next to that little plaza. And we could, in fact, yeah, let's just make that building bigger. Again, we need more power. There are certain things you are going to end up having to give quite a lot of real estate to. Which is why nuclear power plants, once you've figured out if you've got uranium or not, nuclear power plants become very attractive. Right, so up is under construction, and if we have any excess population, we might even just build a commercial building as well. Because they take up, there you go, 42 workspaces. 84 workspaces. They don't generate huge amounts of cash, but you know, they soak up a lot of excess population. In fact, that's what we'll do over here. Just build an office building.
Trading platform arrived.
Squeeze it on the edge there. And hope that the workers aren't all suffering from horrible vertigo. Right, so that matter mine is working away, so we don't even need to build to buy matter anymore. And we've got that selling grain automatically if there's enough of a surplus, which is fine. Right, so that's almost built. Speed things up.
Medium construction completed.
And then we can take a look at research. So yeah, you can research one thing at a time. Apparently we get a boost from, that's a new thing. Not sure how you determine the education level, but okay. So yeah, we have different areas of research. And presumably geoprospecting, where's that going to be? Heavy industry? There's basically various bonuses that you can research. Energy improvements.
Large construction completed.
There's only, like, we can't research everything at the moment. Here we go, geoprospecting. Expanded information about cliff resources. So basically we're going to get rid of these question marks. This is all a bit basic over here at this point, but everything is
Research completed.
working as needed. We can even maybe set that up to sell spare batteries. Sell if more than,
Trading platform arrived.
let's say 30 out of 50. So at the moment we're kind of getting money flowing from here to here. So this is actually a bit of a concern in that we might need to sell more stuff. What we've got a surplus of, we can sell engines. We could also increase our storage space, but we don't have the cash for that at the moment. Might want to build an office building here as well, in fact. Although, again, we're actually super balanced in terms of workspaces versus... Anyway, so, yeah, now we can see soil fertility, so we'd actually be better off with covered fields here, so we could potentially demolish that. We have uranium deposits available, whereas this place doesn't. but it has much better fertility. So we could potentially specialize this into an area for growing food and specialize this into an area for growing energy. And then over here, wind power and a bit of everything else. So that'll definitely be the last area we want to grow into. So yeah, basically the end goal is to just cover the plateaus as much as possible to build up a stable, functional city that can defend itself and try and cope with various disasters that the game might throw at you. And overall, it's quite an intriguing little game. It's definitely not a traditional city builder. It's got all of that kind of balancing and budgeting going on, but you have to be a lot more attentive to the various kind of needs of your citizens, and there's a lot more emphasis on trade and you know, shuttling goods back and forth and making sure everything is in equilibrium, and you have to do all of it in a pretty damn confined space, which makes it all the more challenging. So yep, this is available on Steam now. I can give it a bit of a thumbs up. It's an interesting little game. It maybe won't have the longevity of, you know, some of the classic SimCity games of yore, but yeah, it's got some interesting ideas behind it, and it does something that I don't really think many other city/settlement building games have tried to do in quite this way. In fact, the closest one I can think of is Banished, but that's much more about trying to get your citizens to survive, and this really does take quite a different approach to that. So hopefully you found this video interesting, and if you have, you can do all the usual things down underneath it. And of course, as always, stay tuned for more.